Over the past couple of days, a pretty explosive rumor has been circulating in online military enthusiast circles. It claims that China's H-20 stealth bomber seems to be running into some trouble, with progress stalling. This has sparked wild speculation, with some suggesting China and Russia should just team up to develop a new generation of strategic bombers. Does this sound familiar? It's like when you're buried in an ambitious project, and some busybody leans in to suggest, why struggle alone? Find a partner. But can building a strategic bomber, a true national strategic asset, really be as simple as teaming up for a video game? Today, let's set aside those baseless rumors and take a hard look at whether China and Russia could realistically sit down at the same table to draw up shared blueprints for this endeavor. First, let's set the tone. The likelihood is extremely low, so low it's practically negligible. This isn't me pouring cold water on the idea. It's dictated by the very nature of strategic bombers. What are they? The aerial pillar of a nation's triad strategic nuclear strike force, one of the most formidable platforms capable of global power projection with nuclear weapons. Put simply, they stand alongside intercontinental ballistic missiles and strategic nuclear submarines as a nation's most critical, most closely guarded strategic trump card. Equipment of this caliber involves far more than just aircraft manufacturing. It encompasses top-tier stealth design, avionics systems, weapons integration, and even a nation's entire nuclear command and control infrastructure. Any major power worth its salt treats the technology and R&D in this domain as the highest state secret, guarding it with the utmost vigilance. Historically, aside from special relationships like that between Britain and the United States, have you ever seen a nuclear-armed nation share its strategic bomber technology for joint development with another country? Never. Such a move would effectively place a cornerstone of one's strategic security and nuclear deterrence in another nation's hands. While China and Russia currently enjoy strong relations, maintaining absolute independence and autonomy in matters touching the very lifeline of national security is an indisputable bottom line. Both sides are well aware of this, and neither has any incentive to break this rule. From the most fundamental strategic perspective, China and Russia have inherent differences in their positioning and performance requirements for strategic bombers. Russia's territory spans Eurasia, and its strategic deterrence focus, particularly against the U.S. mainland, has traditionally relied heavily on the Arctic direction. Bombers taking off from airfields within the Arctic Circle can threaten North America's core regions by crossing the Arctic Ocean. Consequently, Russia's existing Tu-95 MiS and Tu-160 bombers meet its range requirements to a sufficient degree, or rather, their designs are largely shaped by this geographic reality. Even Russia's planned next-generation stealth bomber, the Pak-Da, is projected by some analysts to have tonnage and range specifications closer to a sufficiently adequate level. China's strategic environment, however, is entirely different. China faces the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. The distance from the Chinese mainland to a point capable of deterring the U.S. west coast spans the entire first and second island chains, requiring ranges often exceeding 10,000 kilometers. This means China's primary, non-negotiable requirement for a true strategic bomber is sufficient range. Its range and combat radius metrics are likely to be the highest among China, the US and Russia. This high range requirement directly dictates that the aircraft's size and maximum takeoff weight cannot be small, necessitating substantial internal fuel capacity. Beyond range, the two nations may diverge even more significantly in their specific technical approaches and future operational concepts. Since the 1980s and 1990s, China's aviation industry has undergone rigorous development through projects like the J-7 fighter bomber and J-10 fighter, aligning its technical standards and design specifications comprehensively with Western systems to establish an independent and advanced framework. China's aircraft manufacturing has long adopted highly efficient step-by-step pulsed production lines. Russia's aviation industry, while possessing a solid foundation, largely continues Soviet-era traditions blended with some Western standards, resulting in a hybrid system overall. Differences between the two sides may extend from design software and payload calculation standards to manufacturing processes and quality systems. If they were to sit down together, arguments over which standards to use for drafting blueprints alone could drag on for months. This is merely the airframe. A modern strategic bomber represents an extraordinarily complex system integration whose engines will be used. China's Taihong series has advanced rapidly, while Russia possesses its own L series, whose avionics, data links, mission computers, and fire control systems will be employed. China's avionics technology has made remarkable strides in recent years, delivering outstanding product performance. Russia also boasts its own strengths. More crucially, Future strategic bombers will be far more than isolated bomb-dropping platforms. They must integrate into entire combat ecosystems, commanding fleets of loyal unmanned wingmen, potentially requiring powerful onboard edge computing to process massive data streams. In these intelligent, network domains defining future air combat, China has demonstrated clear exploration and achievements, while Russia's publicly acknowledged progress and sense of urgency in these areas appear notably different. If China insists on integrating these advanced systems into the jointly developed bomber to meet its own future operational needs, it would almost amount to unilateral technological assistance. Conversely, if it accommodates the other party by omitting them, the resulting aircraft would hold significantly diminished value for China. This inevitably brings to mind previous cautionary tales in Sino-Russian joint development of major military equipment. Veteran military enthusiasts surely recall the CR-929 large wide-body passenger aircraft project. It began with ambitious plans to jointly challenge Boeing and Airbus. The outcome: irreconcilable differences emerged over aircraft positioning, engine selection, and even interior standards, ultimately stalling the project. China subsequently pivoted to advance its own C-929 initiative. Then there's the all-heavy helicopter project, hyped for years, with models repeatedly showcased at air shows, yet the actual aircraft remains elusive. If commercial ventures like passenger jets and heavy helicopters, relatively open collaborations, face such arduous progress, imagine the challenges for strategic bombers involving top-tier national security secrets and exponentially greater technical complexity. History has repeatedly demonstrated that when both parties possess distinct strengths and technological approaches, coupled with strong independent wills, joint development often leads to endless wrangling and compromises. Ultimately, the efficiency may prove inferior to independent development. So why are US media outlets suddenly raising this joint development topic now? It likely represents a misleading bait-and-switch tactic, or an attempt to divert attention. On one hand, their portrayal of the H-20's development as troubled may itself constitute information warfare, aiming to create the impression that China's high-end military industry faces bottlenecks. On the other hand, forcibly linking China and Russia to the theme of cooperative difficulties may also serve to indirectly obscure problems within America's own projects. Consider the B-21 Raider stealth bomber, a program the US Air Force holds in high regard. Despite massive investment, its development has not been smooth sailing. Northrop Grumman has incurred substantial losses, and the project's build and test approach has posed significant challenges to both schedule and reliability. At this juncture, redirecting international attention toward speculating about Sino-Russian collaboration carries a subtle implication. Look at them too, not just us, they have their own troubles. In reality, China has no reason to feel anxious about the H-20 due to foreign media hype. China has always adhered to a serious, steady, and step-by-step approach in developing strategic weapons. While official communications remain subtle, their direction is clear. As recently as January 2026, both Xinhua News Agency and CCTV mention the H-20 in their reports. Military experts even expressed on CCTV programs their particular anticipation for the H-20's debut in 2026. Such expectations conveyed through official channels are not unfounded. They strongly suggest the project has entered its final sprint or testing phase, with core technological hurdles largely overcome. Thus, after all this discussion, the answer is quite clear. The notion of a China-Russia joint strategic bomber development project appears more like a topic born of external speculation that does not stand up to scrutiny. It overlooks the absolute autonomy principle governing major powers' strategic nuclear forces, underestimates the profound differences in specific requirements and technological approaches between the two nations, and disregards the complex lessons learned from past collaborations. For China, developing the H-20 represents an essential step toward addressing gaps in airborne strategic deterrence and advancing toward a truly global air force.